But you know, happiness can be found even in the darkest of times. If one only remembers to turn on the light.
It takes a great deal of bravery to stand up to your enemies, but a great deal more to stand up to your friends.
The ones that love us never really leave us.
Working hard is important, but there's something that matters: believing in yourself. If they can do it, why not us?
Hey everyone, welcome to Hogwarts, a podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Hogwarts, a podcast. We are covering Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, Act 4, Scenes 1 through 4. We're getting close, everybody. We're nearing the end of Cursed Child here. Elizabeth is with us.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, so we're getting close to wrapping this whole thing up. We're in the home stretch. But before we get to Act 4, Scene 1, there is a comment that we would like to shout out. And the comment is from Britnauer91, who left a comment on Prisoner of Azkaban, Chapter 7, The Boggart and the Wardrobe.
Oh, we're going back a little bit then.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to get a comment from the Prisoner of Azkaban book.
Yeah.
I like it. So,
Yeah.
Britnauer's comment is, James and Sirius being more powerful than Minerva? First moment that I questioned Anna. Yeah, so if anyone has listened to a majority of our episodes, especially Anna's episodes, it shouldn't be a surprise that she is a proponent of James Potter. Big fan.
Number one fan.
So obviously she's going to push the James Potter vibe, which I don't blame her for. Like, that's her thing. That's great. I think, Elizabeth, you recently listened to this episode.
Yeah, so that episode obviously majorly focuses on Lupin's first lesson with the Boggarts, and we had talked at the time about how every professor likes to have their first lesson be super impressive. And for McGonagall for 30 years, it was all about the animagus, and her becoming a cat was obviously very impressive. And also, I must say, a nice choice of animal, if that's the case. So the idea that James and Sirius, and also Peter Pettigrew, I suppose we can toss him in there too, that they were able to perform such advanced magic at such a young age and succeed with it without any major hiccups as far as we're aware, obviously shows very impressive skills. So I guess the question would be, well, when did McGonagall become an animagus? And obviously I will certainly get behind the idea that they are very skilled with magic, but the idea of saying they're better than McGonagall, I don't know if I can agree with Anna on this one. I feel like you'd have to compare what McGonagall had accomplished up to the age that James died, or up to the age that Sirius died. Although also keeping in mind Sirius was locked in Azkaban for years and probably lost a lot of abilities during that time period. So maybe the better comparison would be to someone like Lupin or Snape, since they were also very skilled wizards of their class and obviously did achieve quite a bit in their older age. But that all said, I still feel like McGonagall's the GOAT, so she wins in my book.
I think the crux of this is a lot of longevity arguments, with McGonagall having lived such a long life versus James and Sirius, and like you mentioned, Lupin and Snape all died relatively young. James obviously was the youngest at 21, which is an incredible tragedy.
He was a baby.
Yeah, so no one is denying that James and Sirius were very talented wizards. I like your point of Sirius serving some real time in Azkaban, which could not have been good for his magical health.
No.
But obviously they were both very talented, very smart, very clever wizards, even for their age. No one's going to deny that. But it's hard to just put all of McGonagall's achievements to the side.
Especially when we know so little of them.
Yeah, I think the closest comparison might be Snape, considering he's also a teacher at Hogwarts. He's considered a potions master. Plus, let's face it, he served at the hand of literally the Dark Lord and Albus Dumbledore.
He gets the full spectrum of magic.
He served under two of the most powerful wizards possibly ever. So, yeah, he picked up a trick or two. So, I mean, Snape might be the most apt comparison, but obviously James and Sirius made a whole life out of making Snape's life terrible when they were younger.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's an interesting conversation to have. But I think I agree with you that McGonagall is clearly a notch above. She's in a special tier. I love doing power rankings, and I love doing these kind of talks and comparisons. So maybe someday in the future we'll have like a little power ranking.
Big old debate.
Yeah, I know back in the past we had one with Death Eaters and who were the most powerful of the Death Eaters. And that was an interesting conversation back in the day. So we'll maybe open it up to another one of those conversations somewhere down the road. But thank you, Brittenauer, for the comment. If you want to leave a comment and comment on what we are talking about, or you want to have a little debate with us, that is fine too. You can find us on social media at Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, and YouTube. You can find all of them at Hogwarts-a-Pod.
And feel free to comment on old episodes. I love going back to the earlier books and hearing your thoughts on them.
For sure. We love to also revisit those older books. You can also leave a comment on Spotify. You can participate in the polls on Spotify by just finding our episode and scrolling down. And we just had an interesting poll come out with the biggest twist in Harry Potter, which is a really cool discussion to have because
there's a lot of cool ones.
There's a lot of big twists throughout the series. So please participate in that poll. And once it gets a little further away, we will probably reference it at some point because I am very interested in those results. But yeah, check us out on social media. Get involved in the conversation. We always love hearing from everyone. So thank you all for doing that. And we will get started with Act 4, Scene 1. We're at the Ministry of Magic. We're in the Grand Meeting Room. And Hermione is holding a meeting which is attended by witches and wizards from all over. She begins by confirming that Craig Bowker has, in fact, died at Hogwarts. And she adds about Craig that he was a good boy. I feel like it's an odd thing to say about a human being. This is a thing that you memorialize a pet with, not so much a human child, but whatever. She also says that there is no firm information on who did this. Hermione, I think, is using a little bit of politics talk, because they do have a pretty interesting lead. And I get that there's no firm information, like she says, but that's skirting the truth a little bit here, Hermione.
It's clear that she has truly understood her job, because you're right. If she says we know for a fact, like, what's going on, then the public's going to hold her to that. And if anything comes out that contradicts it, they're in trouble. If she doesn't give enough information, then it looks like they're incompetent and nothing's getting done. And that's not going to help her with the next election either.
They definitely have a firm lead.
Yeah, they do.
So she's using her position as a politician to kind of dance around the truth here a little bit. So
which is smart. I'll give her, it's smart.
Sure. But she's becoming a little bit of what she critiqued back in the day.
A little hypocritical?
A little hypocritical from Hermione now. Now that she's in those shoes, she's deciding to take a little bit more political avenue. But I'll digress for now. She does say that Harry has raided a retirement home, which is always a fun thing to admit. But he did find a prophecy that promises the return of darkness. And also a proclamation that Voldy had a child. Interesting.
Yeah, so this first extraordinary general meeting, well, not the first one. She said that it was the second one, because the first one was back in Act 1. At the time, we said that it must be just ministry people attending this meeting. The comment about wizards and witches from all over makes me think that maybe the general public has also been invited. And I would guess that would be the case so that they could be aware of the threats. But it is interesting that she's being this open, or not open, I don't know, with the public, if that's the case.
That's fair. I think witches and wizards from all over indicates that this might be an international meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it could also reference all over their specific local wizarding world of Britain, but to me it indicates more a worldwide meeting. I still think this meeting has to be a smaller, must be in the know, must have a real reason for being there type meeting. I can't imagine inviting Bob from the local potion store.
I don't think Bob would even be like, government meeting? I'm not attending
You know
that.
what I'm saying?
I'm busy.
I don't think that's the case. Now, you could have press there from like the Daily Prophet, who then gets the info of this meeting and then ships it out to the general public.
Can you imagine Rita Skeeter at this meeting?
I don't think Hermione would allow her within 500 yards.
Maybe Luna has become like a reporter for the Quibbler. Wouldn't that be fun?
It would be interesting reporting. I don't know how she would be viewed as a reporter, but it would be interesting. But yeah, I just find it hard to believe that just everyone is allowed to these things. But we do have an interesting member who is in attendance as we get to this. Hermione mentions that she's checking with her Death Eater connections that she has. And she starts to continue on with that statement by saying she's... And Headmistress McGonagall cuts in and says, I'm sorry, you said she. A daughter? You're saying that Voldy has a daughter. Is she in custody? And at this point, Harry steps in and says, I'm sorry, Professor, no questions, please.
That moment made me laugh so much because I'm picturing the last scene where Harry was in McGonagall's office and she was just railing into them, being like, no, you listen to me, you're in my domain, I'm in charge. And now it's McGonagall's technically in Hermione and Harry's domain, and he's like, no, Professor, let us do our stuff.
This only gets worse. As Hermione literally says, she cuts across Harry and says, no, this is fine. However, my news only gets worse. She's not only not in custody, she is beyond our reach. She has hidden herself in time. McGonagall's like, you have got to be kidding me. You're saying that you've kept the time turner even now? Shame on you, Hermione Granger.
It made Hermione flinch, even, which...
McGonagall has that effect on her.
Yeah.
She has a specific relationship with McGonagall.
I could totally see Hermione reverting to student mode and be like, ooh, I'm in trouble. But at the same time... McGonagall, like, we've already had this conversation of scolding Hermione for keeping this time turner. And to be fair to Hermione, she wasn't even aware that the time turner had been found. As far as she was concerned, it was still at the bottom of the lake. Like, the giant squid could be playing with it for all we know. So yelling at her for keeping it is just like, calm down. Give her the chance.
Now it's just like the idea of a giant squid popping in like the 1900s.
Time traveling squid.
Like 1293, the squid just pops up. No, obviously, I have a history on this podcast of criticizing McGonagall, criticizing other individuals in a public setting. Specifically, I was a bit harsh on McGonagall for criticizing Trelawney in front of peers and other students because I thought that was inappropriate. Whether or not she's right or wrong doesn't even matter. It's the image you're presenting. And thus, if you're cutting down a peer in front of others, that just doesn't look good on you. And it helps cut down the authority, the credibility of that individual. And that's what she's doing here, is she's questioning the Minister for Magic's credibility on this issue, which is a problem, especially if it's, as you say, a public meeting. You're cutting down the head of government's credibility on something of this importance is not a good look. And,
have that conversation like in private.
And look, you're the headmistress of Hogwarts, yes, but you're also Minerva McGonagall. You are pretty darn famous at this point. Like, your word matters.
I do get why she's so upset, because like she said in one of the previous scenes, like the time turner existence playing with it so much totally undercuts the sacrifices that everyone made in the first and second Wizarding Wars. And we want to honor those people. We don't want their deaths to be in vain or their sacrifices to be in vain. But again, you're right. Like, you are completely undercutting Hermione's authority. You are making everyone else question it. If there are a lot of reporters at this meeting, that's probably going to be the headliner of their article.
McGonagall questions ministers.
Yeah, and like, that's not good. So it's not the right place. It's not the right time. I get the sentiment, but have it in private later on.
Agreed. Have it in private. Harry steps in to defend Hermione, saying that his son may have either given this time turner over to this individual or has had it stolen from him. McGonagall continues to press her argument of negligence in the ministry. And at this point, you have two individuals join Harry and Hermione on stage to join in that solidarity. You have Ginny, who's obviously there to support her husband and defend her son. But then you also get Draco Malfoy, who joins the stage. And Draco specifically defends Harry and Hermione, saying, look, they're here to protect us all, and they're doing their best.
I love how the stage directions literally call it a, quote, almost a Spartacus moment. Like, I read that and I just bust out laughing. That's so funny to me.
I feel like McGonagall must be like, okay, Harry and Hermione are taking the same stance. Shocking. Oh, Ginny's here. That's new, but not entirely shocking.
Yeah, husband and wife.
Then Draco steps up, defending Harry, and she must be like, okay, this is different.
I remember them as Quidditch rivals, and I assigned them detention, and they hated each other so much.
If anything, this might make her take a step back and was like, wait, Draco's defending Harry? Okay, maybe I'll take a step back.
I would be like, I'm so proud of them. Look at them overcoming their differences.
And then there's Ron. Ron steps up on stage, denying all responsibility. Hey, look, I had nothing to do with this. My kids had nothing to do with this. But I feel like I also must stand up here in solidarity with you all. Okay, Ron. Okay, that's fine. So Hermione is seeing what's going on here and tries to wrap up this meeting, saying that they have talked with giants, they've talked with trolls, they have begun searches, and we've talked to those who know secrets. And she reaffirms that Aurors are now on the hunt for this individual. That's fine. Good way to wrap up the meeting. Excellent. You're being proactive. You're going out and you're doing something. Cool.
Yeah, because we did hear at the beginning of the play that the trolls and the giants have been using the name augury, and some of them have even been getting augury tattoos. So in theory, there is information out there that would be worthwhile to learn.
I think this is a good job by Hermione to wrap up the meeting. Mm-hmm. Then Harry opens his mouth.
Instant regret.
And Harry says that actually all they can do is wait, because if she succeeds, most of the people in this room are going to be gone anyway, and Voldy will have returned. And that's the end of the scene. Thus the end of the meeting.
You know that SNL skit with the Debbie Downer?
Yes.
That's what I'm getting the vibe of right now.
That is a good poll, yes.
Like, I get it, because I think I, too, would also have the desire to be open and honest with people, especially if you knew that these could be our potential last days, last hours, last however much time with the people that you love. You would want them to go do things that they have been putting off, or say the things that they've always wanted to say but haven't. But at the same time, for all we know, Voldemort could come in to rule again within the next 5 minutes. Telling everyone doesn't change that fact. And any warning that you have given, like, you literally said there's nothing that can be done. So what do you expect these people to do? Like, what? Why do we have this information?
Yeah, I think all Harry is going to accomplish with this statement is send everybody into a panic, which is not what Hermione wants. What Harry and Hermione are trying to do here is very clearly not be Cornelius Fudge.
Yeah.
They're trying to not be him, and they're trying to be so transparent. However, there are benefits to holding some things closer to the vest.
Yeah.
Because you can't have your constituents panic. This is the whole thing I was trying to defend Fudge with, is you can't have your constituents panic, because if you lose control and people are starting to do crazy things that they wouldn't normally do, then you have to not only police the threat at large, you then have to start policing your own constituents, and you might just have constituents just flee and try to leave the country, and then they're all spread out, and you can't even control that. It becomes very difficult to do your job and to help your constituents in the best way possible.
And it's really a lose-lose situation, because if Voldemort does come into if he does rule again, then yes, everyone ceases to exist the way that we know them, so can't do anything there. If he doesn't succeed, well, then you've caused the panic for no reason, and I feel like the voters are not going to be particularly pleased about that come next election. So literally just letting this information out there, it's just going to put a damper on everything.
Also, if Harry is true, if what he's saying is true, why have the meeting in the first place?
Yeah.
Just keep it to your inner circle and call it a day.
Yeah.
And not even have the meeting in the first place.
Yeah. This does nothing for anybody.
If nothing you can do matters, then why tell everybody that nothing you can do actually matters? It's weird to me.
He just wants his Debbie Downer moment.
I guess. Anyway, we will move on to Act 4, Scene 2. We are in the Scottish Highlands, and we are at the Avamore train station in the year 1981.
Neither of us are born yet.
Neither of us are born yet. So at the train station, Albus and Scorpius are arguing about their next steps. Albus says that we should ask the station master some questions. And Scorpius is like, oh, that's a great idea. The Muggle. Ask the Muggle about a witch who's flying through the countryside, a magical school, and I'm sorry, you want to ask him the year too? Because that's a normal question. Let's just completely blow our cover here.
Yeah, you can only get away with that after a new year.
Yeah, it's not a great look. So Albus sits there and thinks, man, my dad will just think we did this on purpose. And Scorpius is again like, are you serious? That's what you're thinking about right now? I will never understand you two. And Albus says, yeah, I know, my dad's pretty complicated. And Scorpius is like, no. You are too. You are also complicated. Plus, your taste in women is very questionable.
Yeah, maybe crush on people who are not evil and related to Voldemort.
Helpful.
Just as a baseline rule.
The station master then comes up to the boys and addresses them in what is described as, quote-unquote, strong Scots. Look, I'm not going to even try to pick out what this guy actually said, because it is written out in what is aggressive.
Yeah, it's written the way it would sound. So major props to any actor who has to play this part, because the thickness of the accent is strong.
Almost to an absurd level. And I've been to Scotland, and I have had no general problems communicating with those in Scotland.
Yeah.
This is comically
Yeah, I think
almost.
the comically is the main thing. It's trying to cut the tension of the previous scene and the fear that Voldemort's coming back.
That being said, I would love for any of our listeners in Scotland, if they are reading along with us, if you have read this passage by this station master, let us know if this is accurate or overdone or comically, played up a bit. Let us know, because
or send us a voice note of you reading it for us.
That would be fantastic. That would be wonderful. Help us out.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think he's trying to communicate a timetable to the boys and trying to figure out which train they're trying to catch. And if it's this one, they might be late for it. So he's trying to communicate a timetable. Albus takes the timetable from him, reads it, examines it, and says, oh, I know where she is. Scorpius reads the date on the timetable. October 30th, 1981. It takes him a second, and then he realizes, oh, it's this date. Albus says she's trying to prevent the big prophecy. She's going to try to kill Harry herself. We need to get to Godric's Hollow now.
I have to give props to Scorpius as a history nerd for having this date to stand out to him so much. Because while I know they are in the moment and obviously thinking about things with Harry and such, I feel like knowing October 30th, specifically 1981, even if it's an important date to the Wizarding World, it's still an obscure date for someone younger to know.
Well, number one, it's not actually all that far removed as far as history goes. Two, Scorpius and his family also play a part in this big story.
That's true.
And three, Scorpius's best friend is Albus Potter, who's obviously, his family is the story. So,
do you think he went home and read up all on the Potter history the same way Hermione, when she first met Harry, was like, oh, I know everything about you? And he's like, what? She's like, you're in the history books.
I wouldn't doubt it, because Scorpius does seem on the same relative nerd level as Hermione, so I wouldn't put it past him. But anyway, the boys are off to Godric's Hollow.
Which, how do you think they're going to get to Godric's Hollow? Like,
well, they're at a train station, so I imagine either train, or they showed up close enough to Godric's Hollow where they can literally just walk, run, something else.
Okay, that's fair. But I'm hoping one of them at least knows where Godric's Hollow is, because otherwise they're going to be super lost. I would be super lost.
Well, we will find out after break. So we'll pause here, we'll take a little break, and then we will be back with Act 4, Scene 3. Before we get to our break sound, I'd like to acknowledge our friend Andy, who helps us produce our intros and our break sounds. If you want to hear more of Andy's work and like Formula One racing, check out the Outlap F1 podcast. It's your one-stop shop for Formula One news, insights, race previews, and reviews. You can find them wherever you listen to podcasts, and they even have a YouTube page. So check out Andy and Cody and join them on the Outlap.
I love magic.
All right, so we are back with part 2 of this conversation, and we are starting part 2 with Act 4, Scene 3. We are in Godric's Hollow now in the year 1981, and we have Albus kicking things off by saying that he's never actually been to Godric's Hollow before. He always refused when Harry tried to take him. Scorpius says that there's no time for a tour. And then, over here we have magnificently haunted St. Jerome's Church and Graveyard. Over here we have the location of where the statue of Harry and his parents will be. At that point, Albus chips in, I'm sorry, my dad had a statue? Has a statue? What? Also, over here, we have where Bathilda Bagshot lived. Lives.
Still alive at this point.
And Albus chips in again. Wait, the Bathilda Bagshot? Of History of Magic fame?
I told you, they're history nerds.
They are history nerds. Scorpius says, oh my, that's actually her. Wow, squeak. My geekiness is a-quivering.
Okay, I have to ask. Have you ever been so excited in geekiness that you've literally said the word squeak?
I have neither squeaked nor said the word squeak, nor has my geekiness ever been a-quivering. And I am a geek. Obviously, I'm hosting a podcast about Harry Potter.
I mean, I've squealed at things that I got excited about, but I've definitely never said the word squeal like the way he just said squeak. Scorpius is something else.
I do think this is part of why we are so endeared to Scorpius in the stage production.
Yeah, because he's such a dork.
He's
That's
fantastic.
great.
He's fantastic. And Scorpius then comes upon the main attraction, if you will, the home of Lily, James, and Harry Potter. And they actually see Lily and James pushing a little baby Harry. Mm-hmm. And Albus looks at this and says, how do we protect my dad?
I love that line because he's like, you know, we really haven't thought this one through, have we? Like, what do we do now? How do we protect him? I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You haven't thought this one through? This one? Like, what about all the other ones from the whole rest of the play? Like,
in fairness, they don't have time to think about this one. They gotta act.
That's true, but it's still funny to be like, oh, now we need to think. We've been yelling at you to do that this whole time.
So I actually have 2 points about Albus in this scene.
Okay.
The first one is, why do you think Albus always refused Harry's suggestions to bring him to Godric's Hollow?
Based on everything that we've seen from the play with Albus so far, my guess would be that he just wanted to be anti-Harry with his choices, and if seeing Harry ask him to go to Godric's Hollow and seeing that it's important to Harry, I think Albus would see that and then be like, no, I don't want to do that because you're the famous Harry Potter and I'm living in your shadow and I'm going to be the rebellious teenager who makes your life difficult. So no, I'm not going to go.
So I get that as an older Albus, like an at Hogwarts Albus. But I assume Harry tried to take him at an earlier age, and I don't think he would have developed that rebellious streak at that point in time.
Maybe Harry, like, not having his parents around when he was younger is kind of the type of parent who wants their kid to be always happy, regardless of if it makes you happy or not. So maybe when he was younger, he would ask Albus, and Albus is like, no, I want to stay at home. And he's like, oh, okay, well, not this year, maybe next year.
I don't know. Albus strikes me as someone who is very much in touch with his feelings and his sensitive side. I think he feels things very strongly and very aggressively. And I think seeing such an emotional sight for his family, and especially his dad, maybe is too overwhelming for him at a young age.
Okay, so then maybe Harry just was like, he can't appreciate it when he's so young. Like, I could see him just running around in the graveyard being like, woo, it's a graveyard, not realizing who's buried there. So maybe he purposely waited until he was old enough to understand the weight of it. And then at that point, Albus was angsty, moody teenager who doesn't want to do things to make dad happy.
Well, even if he is the angsty, moody teenager who says, no, Dad, I don't want to go to Godric's Hollow, I kind of have to question Ginny here. And here's why. I fully understand that Ginny in this production has taken a massive backseat.
Yeah.
And is very much not the Ginny that we have come to know and love from the original books. She's not really that fiery.
Books Ginny would have been like, don't you sass your father. We're going to Godric's Hollow.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She's got to step in and be like, no. You don't understand how important this is for your father, and you don't understand how important this is for our family as a whole to see such an historical part of our family here and the wizarding world, but like also our family. She's got to say something there. She hammered Harry for all of the mistakes that he has made as a father.
Especially with communicating, like, the emotional things going on.
She has called him out for mistakes that he has made as a father. I'm sorry, you're the mother. Shouldn't you have any input in this family, in this dynamic? Can't you insert yourself as a mediator?
Yeah, I could see it as that, like, passive parenting trend where you spend so much time thinking about your children's, like, emotional worth and reactions, and that you don't really discipline them as much. And if Albus has always refused, and if I'm right that it was out of angsty, kind of selfish reasonings, that's where Ginny should be stepping in and saying, that's not okay. You're not treating your father well. Like, he's still a person with emotions.
She's
got better.
She's got to back Harry here.
Yeah. If Harry is being like, this is important to me, this is something that's emotional, I want to share it with you, and Albus is turning it down, that's something people wish for. So Ginny should be the one being like, no, that's not how you react to your father when he has emotions. Like, you go with it.
I understand that this play seems to be about the father-son relationship. Much like the books seem to be a lot about a mother-son relationship.
Yeah.
So I get that they're trying to shift the focus to father-son here. And I get that we're only seeing snippets of their life. I get that we're not seeing whole sections of the daily life at the Potter house.
Yeah.
I understand that. But it seems that in these acts and scenes that we get in Cursed Child, it seems like Harry is the only one doing any parenting, and Ginny is sitting on the sideline. I know that's not Ginny.
Yeah.
So I'm just a little confused. And then Ginny just blames Harry for everything as a potentially bad father.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And I think it does once again illustrate how these characters are not the same characters from the book series, even though they do share the same name.
Yeah. My second point on Albus is actually the exact opposite. It comes at the end of this scene. And it seems like, or at least it feels like to me, that something has flipped in Albus. Something has fundamentally changed in Albus now. Maybe it's seeing his father or witnessing the impact that they had by Scorpius saying, like, do you not realize your dad and your grandparents had a statue here? Like, they built a statue to
They're
them?
important people.
Like, I don't know what was that instigator that flipped his mindset, but now he said, how do we protect my dad? Not how do we go save Cedric, not how do we save the Wizarding World or save Hogwarts or whatever. Now he's like, how do we protect my dad?
Yeah, he finally has a purpose, a clear, defined purpose, which I think Harry always thrived when he had that clear, defined purpose. Prior to this, I think Albus has just been floundering, looking for something to make him be as heroic as his father. And saving Cedric was the excuse to try that. But this is now like, if we don't succeed, not only will I not exist, but the whole Wizarding World as we know it will not exist. And Scorpius already is aware of what that looks like. So we have to succeed. We have to protect my father.
I think it's a pivotal moment for Albus.
Yeah.
However, before we move on to the next scene, can I just put something out there?
Okay.
Reading this scene and getting towards the end of it, I have to just say, aren't James and Lily supposed to be under a Fidelius charm? Why are they walking about Godric's Hollow the night before they're potentially killed?
Yeah, because it says they're pushing Harry in a little push car.
They are hiding.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be hiding.
Yeah.
Even now, on pre-Halloween night.
I would maybe argue because Albus is a blood relative, that maybe that would allow him to see it. But Scorpius seems to also be able to see it. Like, he pointed them out to Albus. So that shouldn't be a thing. Unless it's kind of like in the future, since they know this is where the house is, and the Fidelius charm breaks once they're killed, that maybe all future people are also clued in on the secret. But they're outside.
Lily is obviously smart enough not to disobey this charm. Mm-hmm. James, as much as he does have a rebellious, mischievous streak about him, I don't think he's dumb enough to leave the charm when he's got express orders from Dumbledore to stay put. Uh-huh. Plus, even in his most rebellious moment, even in his most mischievous moment, he is not going to risk the lives of Lily, and he certainly is not going to risk the life of his son. So I just don't understand why they would potentially be leaving the safety of their charm.
Maybe they're just assuming that since it's daytime, Voldemort doesn't come out.
It just struck me as like, I'm sorry, wait, you're able to see them just walking about?
Yeah.
It's weird to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, we will move on to Act 4, Scene 4, the Ministry of Magic. We are in Harry's office, and Harry is having a talk with the portrait of Dumbledore. Harry becomes quite antagonistic towards Dumbledore, actually tells him to leave, and says that I have fought him 3 times without you. I'll do it again. Albus says that he would have fought him instead if he could have.
Okay, first of all, the fact that Harry's in his office and he's just like searching through paperwork because he's like, I'm sure there's something here. I might have missed something. And then Dumbledore's portrait strolls in. I just get the sense of his portrait coming in and be like, what you doing? And just hovering over his shoulder and be like, ooh, something entertaining to watch. So that kind of Dumbledore I can get behind.
Well, that's what Harry literally says to him, too, is, oh, I must be where the action is tonight.
Yeah, like there's nothing else. Like, what as a portrait, what entertainment do you have other than watching the living? But yeah, he said how, Dumbledore, get out of here. I don't need you. I fought him without you. I can do it again. And I don't know if Harry is fully keeping track of his own history here. Like he said, I fought him being Voldemort 3 times without Dumbledore's help. I feel like you can't necessarily discredit the first book with the Sorcerer's Stone. Like, sure, you could argue when he's a baby, that's not really fighting, you're just surviving. But he did fight against him when he was possessing Quirrell with the Sorcerer's Stone, so I would count that as one. In book 2, when he was going against the Horcrux version of Tom Riddle, that's still a form of Voldemort, so I would count that as number 2. Book 4, when they're in the graveyard, obviously that was a real fight. Book 7, you see him escaping from the Dursleys, and while he isn't necessarily directing his wand against Voldemort, like the wand does it itself, he's still facing off against him, which was the words that he used. So I'm going to count that as another one. And then obviously there's the book 7 with the Hogwarts battle. So to me, it seems like he actually survived 5 times. But also for him to be like, oh, Dumbledore, I was able to fight him without you. I'll face him again alone. I'm like, sir, you're being a little melodramatic here, especially considering you're in your 40s at this point. Calm down.
So when Harry says 3 times, I don't think he counts the time in his first year because technically he's not fighting Voldemort. He's fighting Quirrell, who is possessed by Voldemort. So I think that's a technicality.
He's fighting Voldemort's face, kind of, through Quirrell's face.
I guess. But it's really Quirrell that he's fighting. Book 2, I mean, yes, he's fighting a portion of Voldemort's soul. But again, it's really Tom Riddle that he's going against. It's not Lord Voldemort, and it's a memory. It's not exactly him. The graveyard, yes, absolutely. That's certainly one. And then in book 7, you could say the Seven Potters scene, he does face off against Voldemort, although you could argue that he's not even really facing off against him. He's trying to flee that scene. He's really trying to get out of there. So I don't know that I would even count that. It's the wand acting of its own accord that faces Voldy. He's trying to get to the safe spot.
So you think it's actually more 2 survivals?
No, I still think it's 3. So what I think is it's in book 4 in the graveyard, 100% for sure. Mm-hmm. The Battle of Hogwarts, obviously they face off. Harry wins that battle for sure, right? My third time is when Harry makes the decision to go into the forest in book 7 and face him alone and makes the decision to die.
Well, I guess he's not actively fighting then.
That's true, but he goes in with the assumption that one person is leaving that forest that night and it's not him. Yeah.
Him being Harry.
Versus the Seven Potters scene where he does the exact opposite. He's hightailing it to safety. So that's the difference in those 2 scenes. Even though Harry's not fighting him in the forest, the assumption is one of them is going to die.
Well, regardless, I still think he's being dramatic.
That is probably true. We will go on and continue on with this scene. Harry says that his son is fighting his battles just as Harry fought battles for Dumbledore.
Yeah, he yells at Dumbledore. He says, your advice that love blinds us. Like, that was terrible advice. I can't believe you gave that to me. Horrible.
Harry says that he is proving to be as bad of a father to Albus as Dumbledore was to Harry, which is a harsh thing to say. Mm-hmm. Dumbledore left him feeling unloved with growing resentment. Dumbledore assumes Harry is referring to leaving him at Privet Drive all those years. And Dumbledore tries to defend himself and even tries to reach out of the portrait for Harry, obviously not able to do so. He begins to cry, but tries to hide that. Dumbledore says that I am no fit person to love. I have never loved without causing harm. Now he's openly weeping. I couldn't see that you needed to hear that I loved you. Dumbledore begins to leave the portrait, and now Harry doesn't want him to go. Dumbledore says that those that we love never truly leave us, Harry. Death cannot touch paint, memory, love. Harry says that he loved Dumbledore. Dumbledore responds with his best impersonation of Han Solo. I know.
I also wrote that down about Han Solo. I'm not a fan of this whole conversation, which is maybe shocking. I don't know. But to me, first of all, this whole conversation feels like stuff that was already discussed in book 5 and book 7. In book 5, when he's in his office after Sirius died and, he's smashing all of Dumbledore's things. In book 7, when Harry has faced Voldemort, died, and is at the King's Cross, like, halfway point through the afterlife kind of moment. Like, him and Dumbledore have talked before about Dumbledore's advice of loving people and love being your strongest superpower, if you will, and how Dumbledore forgot in his old age what it means to love someone and what it's like to be young, and everything just feels like reiterated conversation, which I understand for an audience member. If you're not someone who has reread the series multiple times like we have, then maybe you enjoy this because it reaffirms for you what their relationship was like. But to me, it just comes across like the authors saying, ooh, Dumbledore has the best quotes. Let's take a conversation so that we can show off our writing and have really great quotes. Because I will give them, like, there are great quotes. You read some of them. Another one that stood out to me, he said, Harry was saying, like, oh, how did you ever put up with me? All I did was complain. And he kind of brushes it aside and says, perfection is beyond the reach of humankind, beyond the reach of magic. And every shining moment of happiness is that drop of poison. The knowledge that pain will come again. Be honest to those you love. Show your pain. To suffer is as human as to breathe. And it's just like, oh, look at how great Dumbledore is. He's so wise. He's so, he's such a father figure to Harry, even when Harry complains about it. But I'm just like, this isn't even really Dumbledore. This is the portrait of Dumbledore. And to me, it just feels like almost like an AI that just spits out the same information it's been fed. And maybe it's what Harry needs to hear right now, in which case, okay, fine. But I feel like it rings hollow for me since it's just repetition of stuff he's already heard.
I disagree. On several counts.
Okay, go ahead.
I will acknowledge your point about it potentially being a catch-up for those that either haven't read the books or haven't read the books as often. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of catching you up or giving you this sense of, ooh, we got another good Harry Dumbledore conversation to kind of dive in on. Mm-hmm. Fair. However, I disagree on the point that it's the same old conversation. It might remind you of those conversations and might be similar. Why I think it's different is because this isn't the same Harry. This isn't that 15-year-old child that couldn't deal and handle these emotions. He couldn't deal with what he was feeling. That's why he trashed Dumbledore's office. Mm-hmm. He couldn't grasp the emotions, the weight of the situation. He didn't know how to handle that, and that's why he trashed the place. Here you're getting an adult version of Harry Potter who's lived a life, who now has his own children, who can handle these emotions, and he fires back at Dumbledore with, no. I'm a parent. I'm recognizing the same mistakes I'm making that you have made with me. He's able to give Dumbledore a more reasoned, more experienced comeback than just, I'm going to smash this instrument and I'm going to, yell at you because you have misled me or whatever. You've lied to me, whatever you want to call it. I think now he's able to share more of his life experience that Dumbledore can't necessarily refute because Harry's lived a life now. He can grasp those thoughts. But also to your point about the Dumbledore AI of it all, yes, a portrait is a fraction of the actual person. We've come to grasp that pretty thoroughly as we've delved into that portrait magic. That being said, number one, headmaster and headmistress portraits are different than just the average portrait. They give a lot of themselves to these portraits, whereas the fat lady or Sir Cadogan maybe less so. The headmaster, headmistress portraits are a little bit more with it, let's say. And two, just like with AI, if you give it something, and it might spit out like some generic thing, if you rephrase it or give it new info to go off of, it will give you something more elaborate or it will give you something different. Dumbledore might not be able, in this scenario, to give you new information, but he can recontextualize what has already been. And if you're giving him new input, he can give you new output.
Well, in that case, then I would argue that the portrait isn't so much a portrait, it's being a mirror, because it's just showing to Harry what Harry thinks he needs in this moment. And it's
that's the device that they're using for this.
Yeah, and to me, like, if you're going to have a Dumbledore scene, the highlights of every Dumbledore scene from the series was always the wisdom that he brought and the calmness and the way he helped Harry feel emotionally seen. And I get that right now he isn't necessarily raging and destroying things, but I think he still has the same amount of anger he did in book 5. It's just that there's more fear here than there is anger. Fear for Albus, because, parents love. But also he's matured, so it's not like he is going to automatically go to smashing stuff. But to me, it's just, oh, right now I'm struggling. And oh, Dumbledore, you had that line about love blinds us. What horrible advice. But you say some words and then I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you're right. I guess this works for me. It just doesn't give me the normal satisfaction that a Dumbledore scene gives.
Well, see, you're taking it as a Dumbledore scene. I'm not. I'm taking it as a Harry scene. I'm taking it as, look at how Harry has grown and matured and look at the life he's living now. He's not that 15-year-old overwhelmed kid in an office. He's lived a life. Look at how Harry is now responding to this man that he once revered as a mentor, as a father figure, clearly. He's coming into this conversation as a father himself.
I wonder if I would enjoy the scene more if it was either with Ginny, so that we could see them having a couple conversation with actual communication about everybody's emotions, or with Draco, since he's also a father who is experiencing the challenges of fatherhood and what it's like to love a son who you don't fully understand and you've had issues with.
I think if we are to take it, as you were saying, as just a repeat scene of something we've already seen before and this adds nothing new, I would take this type of scene in a heartbeat over some of those chapters that we got early in the actual 7 books that is literally a whole chapter of no new information.
You're still talking about what was it, book 2?
Did you hear that Harry had a dangerous experience at Hogwarts last year?
He's a very special boy.
He's a very special boy. He is in danger all the time. Who knew? That's like the entire chapter. Like, come on.
Yes, but I understand the purpose of those chapters. It's the whole,
Is there a purpose of those chapters?
Yes, it's like with TV where it's like previously on, whatever show it was.
I don't want that.
I know you don't want that, but I'm sure some people would.
This provides a lot more in-depth things to break down than Harry's a very special boy and he was in danger last year.
I get it might be satisfying for some people. For me, it rings empty.
Well, let us know what you think on Harry and Dumbledore's conversation. You did mention Draco. Guess who we get entering the scene?
I know, the second half makes me much happier.
Draco enters Harry's office and makes his attempt at an interesting joke by saying that this may one day be his office if the world is indeed changed.
It's very much like an icebreaker, like, oh, this is awkward, so humor?
Well, Harry, not missing a beat, says, well, you might be right. Let me give you a tour. And Draco says, well, being in the office with Harry, that he never actually wanted to be a ministry man. That was always his dad's dream, not his. And Harry, again, not missing a beat, is like, well, what was your dream? What did you want to be? And Draco says he wanted to be a Quidditch player. However, he acknowledges that he was never actually good enough to be one. Mainly, I just wanted to be happy.
I love that little moment because, one, Quidditch obviously created so much rivalry between him and Harry. So to finally acknowledge as an adult, like, yeah, I wasn't good enough to go pro. Like, I feel like that's a lot to have to admit to. But even better than that, I think, is acknowledging that all he really wants out of life is to be happy. And I think when you're young, like the idea of, oh, I want to be happy, it seems so abstract that that's not really your goal. And when you've lived more of life and you've experienced more things and you finally start to realize that the material stuff really doesn't satisfy as much, having the goal of being happy shows a maturity that I don't think we ever saw from Draco in the series. I
think this is a great little mini conversation. Obviously, the conversation continues on, but I think this is a really great conversation to break the ice between the two.
Yeah.
Where, they have that little back and forth joke to start, which usually it's a back and forth quip about each other.
Yeah.
Here, it's a back and forth joke just making light of the situation as a whole.
And being emotionally vulnerable. Like, gosh, this is the redemption of Draco that we were hoping for the whole time.
Well, Draco acknowledging that he wasn't good enough at Quidditch. I mean, my goodness, how many back and forth taunting sessions did we get during their years as Quidditch players?
Right.
And here, they're able to just put that aside and be like, yeah, I wasn't really ever good enough. At least to go pro, which, is a whole other thing. You can be good at Quidditch. Draco was good at Quidditch.
Sure.
But not like...
Not pro level.
Not pro level.
Yeah.
But anyway. Draco says he's not really good at small talk, so can we just skip the small talk and get to the actual business? And he's like, yeah, let's get down to it. Why are you seeing me today? And Draco says, do you think that Theodore Nott had the only time turner? The time turner the Ministry seized was a prototype made inexpensively, not something you'd sell to a true dark magic collector, especially with that 5-minute flaw. Nott was working for my father, who liked owning things that no one else had. Lucius wanted the ability to go back further than an hour. He wanted years. Then Draco says that he thinks Lucius preferred to go to a world without Voldy. But it was built for him. The time turner, the real time turner, was built for him.
Yeah, and he mentioned how, like, the Ministry's time turners would have been to Vanilla for his father, thanks to Croaker. And I know we've talked a lot about Saul Croaker in this play because he's the unspeakable who studied the time magic. He came up with Croaker's law that don't you dare travel back more than 5 hours because it's going to have serious repercussions on existence. But I had forgotten that we actually do hear mention of his name in the series. If you go back to book 4 when we're at the Quidditch World Cup and Arthur is like pointing out to Harry and Hermione all the various Ministry officials, he points to Croaker and Godric Bode and he says they are working in the Department of Mysteries, they're unspeakables, no idea what they're up to. Well, now we know he was up to time travel, which is cool that Easter egg has come back around and actually fleshed out.
Yes, it's a very, if you know, Easter egg.
Yeah.
That they brought back here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Draco ends up revealing the time turner. No 5-minute problem here. And it's gold, just like the Malfoys like it. Wait, why are you smiling? Harry is smiling. Harry says that this is exactly the reason why Hermione kept the first inexpensively made time turner. The fear that there might actually be a second one.
Yeah, so clearly it was wise of Hermione to hang on to it.
Yeah, I'm not faulting Hermione at all.
Yeah.
I think she did her best with it. She tried to hide it. She tried to hide it behind magical protection in a pretty hard to reach place in general.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah. Clearly, the trio made stuff happen all the time.
Very much so. So Draco then reveals his reason for keeping it quiet, because at this point Harry is like, do you realize you should be in Azkaban for this? Like, this is highly illegal. And Draco's like, yeah, I kept it quiet for a reason. Scorpius. Astoria and I were capable of having children, but Astoria was frail. It was a blood malediction from an ancestor's curse that has cropped up through generations and hit Astoria.
Yeah, it's interesting that curses can work in that way. Like, I would think some kind of curse might have some sort of time limit, but clearly it can be generational.
Yes. Draco was willing to let the bloodline end with him, but Astoria wanted a child for them. Not the Malfoy name to continue, but for them as a couple. She wanted me to have someone when she was gone, because she knew it was exceedingly lonely being Draco Malfoy. I never knew that hiding him away would only increase the gossip and rumors that would surround him.
Which is so sad. I mean, it's so sad to...
This whole story is sad.
Yeah, I mean, for Draco to know his wife is going to die at a young age, for her to know as well her time is limited, and...
Having a child would speed up that clock.
Yes, and knowing that the purpose of the child isn't necessarily to form the relationship with her, but to make sure that Draco has someone to keep him in check.
Motivated to keep going forward.
Because, I mean, we saw in the series how when things got difficult for Draco, he isolated. So clearly, like, this was a legitimate fear. And for him to realize that she made that sacrifice and it was for that specific purpose, that's sad. But then also it's so sad for him to realize, by hiding it away, I was trying to protect my family, and it had the exact opposite effect. It has caused more rumors for Scorpius than fewer.
Well, he knew that being a Malfoy, Scorpius was going to be highlighted. He was going to be put out on a spotlight. And he didn't want that, but he didn't realize that hiding him away would only increase all of those rumors. Can we just go back a notch and discuss the idea that Malfoy, Draco, was willing to let the Malfoy name die with him?
Yeah.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing in a couple of different ways. One, generally, Lucius Malfoy, that was all he was about, was legacy and the Malfoy name and how great the Malfoy name is, right?
Yeah, that pure blood line.
That's the other bit about this. Like, literally in the wizarding world, just in general, having a pure blood line go out is a big deal. There aren't that many of them left.
Yeah, and for him to be like, I don't want to continue that line just to keep my wife alive, shows how much he truly loved her, which is certainly nice to see that Draco has that love. I feel like this whole conversation is the only reason why there was the first half of this scene, because Harry says Dumbledore's words again about, how love blinds us. Both of us tried to give our sons what we needed, not what our sons needed. We were just too busy trying to rewrite our own past. And again, I do like the scene with Draco. I feel like they could, within this conversation, achieve everything that was just achieved with the Dumbledore conversation. So I like this a lot better.
Well, see, I'm not so sure. I think you called the first part of this scene a mirror, right? And I think it is a mirror, just not in the way you were describing. I think these two halves of the scene mirror each other.
Okay.
Like, Harry is both taking in advice from Dumbledore, and he's also giving advice to Dumbledore. He is telling Dumbledore some things. And here he's able to take some of that conversation with Dumbledore and apply it immediately in this conversation with Draco, because Draco is opening up to Harry about some stuff. And he is letting Harry in, finally. And of all the people to let in about this fear about Scorpius being hidden away all these years and how that only increased rumors and gossip, who better to talk to about that than Harry Potter, who is tucked away at the Dursleys for 11 years, comes back into the wizarding world and is in literally the hottest of hottest spotlights.
Yeah.
Like, you could pick no better person to talk to about this.
And endured all that gossip, oftentimes at Draco's hands.
Sure. But that's the part of it. And I think those two coming together, and as you were saying, Harry says, we've been trying to rewrite our own past, which has blighted our kids' present. Mm-hmm. And, Draco, again, is very open with Harry and says, what I've really wanted to do was use this real time turner to go back and spend one more moment with my wife. Mm-hmm. But I haven't. I've resisted that urge. Yeah. Now I want you to use it to go get our sons back.
And Harry says, no, we can't use this. I mean, Draco's like, we should look for them. It might take us centuries, but we have the time turner. And he's like, you realize this would be a fool's errand. Like, if we were to search, we could be searching forever. Right now is the time for us to finally trust our sons and trust that they're going to save us this time. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing where you are the literal hero of the wizarding world.
Yeah.
And you have to
sit back.
You have to take a step back and wait for someone else to save you. Could you imagine 11-year-old to 17-year-old Harry Potter saying, you know what, I'm just going to sit back and let someone else do it.
Yeah, I'm going to sit on the bench. Maybe like Neville. Neville can take charge.
Never would he have done that.
Yeah.
He would have been the first one to go in and charge through and try to fix this. And now he's realizing at his more advanced age, he's wiser about it because of everything you just said. Like, oh man, if we go in and we pick the wrong time or we're just searching for forever, we don't have a real direction here. Mm-hmm. What's the point?
And we could mess up so much, too.
That's not what old Harry would have done. He would have rushed in and tried something.
Yeah.
So now he's a little bit wiser. And I think that's also what the first part of the scene was accomplishing was Harry's not the same anymore. He's grown. He's gotten older. He's gotten wiser. He's experienced life more. And he's different. He's not the same Harry Potter that we had. He's matured, which I think is nice. He's matured to the point where after this very open, vulnerable, heartfelt discussion between two old rivals, they now, for the first time, look at each other as friends.
No.
Which is a really nice, wonderful comment. I think this is kind of that full circle Draco redemption that a lot of the Draco lovers were looking for.
And then all the Harry Draco ships explode.
Those were happening long before Cursed Child.
Okay, that's fair. But that's because Tom Felton.
That's true.
No, I do think it's a very, very nice moment. I think it's a crucial conversation for the play, especially for that development of the theme of father-son relationships. And it is nice to see the two rivals put their pasts aside for the sake of their sons. I just still don't like the Dumbledore part of that conversation, but that's me.
Well, I hope I have convinced someone to the actual worth that half of the scene holds. But let us know. Let us know what you guys think about the Dumbledore-Harry conversation, about the Draco-Harry conversation, and we will be back soon with another episode. So, before we go, again, a reminder, please give us some comments. Let us know what you think by reaching out to us on social media. That's Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. All can be found at Hogwarts-a-Pod. You can leave us a comment on Spotify. You can participate in the poll that we have on Spotify by just going to the episode, scrolling down, and clicking an option. We really appreciate interacting with all of you, having those debates, having those discussions. So we love hearing from you.
Yeah.
With that, we will wrap it up now, and we will be back soon with another episode. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to Hogwarts, a podcast. If you like what you've heard, please click the subscribe button on your preferred podcasting app and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at HogwartsAPod.